Matt, good morning to you. Well, Vice President Mike Pence flying in to strike a deal after just 4 hours of talks with Turkey's President Erdogan. Under the terms of this arrangement, what we will see is Turkey agreeing to pause, key word there, pause Operation Peace Spring in order to allow YPG fighters to exit the safe zone over the next 120 hours. In exchange, the United States has also agreed to not levy any new sanctions against Turkey's economy or its government ministers. And when we do eventually see a full ceasefire, the US has also agreed to remove those sanctions that we were talking about earlier on in the week. The Vice President claiming this as a victory for both sides.
Our commitment with Turkey is that we will work with YPG members, and we also know as Syria Defense Forces, to facilitate an orderly withdrawal over the next 120 hours. And let me say that's literally already begun. And where they will be withdrawing from is the demarcation line roughly 20 miles south of the border.
The Vice President has claimed this as a victory for the United States, but clearly this is a major win for the Turks as well. First of all, they get the safe zone that they wanted, which was part of the reason that they launched the incursion into Syria in the first place. They get sanctions relief from the United States, which also goes to show how this president prefers to use sanctions as a tool of leverage in foreign policy negotiations. And domestically, President Erdogan can also say that he's been able to neutralize 700 terrorists now as a result of this campaign. So a major win for him. But questions remain about the overall effectiveness of this, Matt. First of all, we don't have any information on who is going to monitor this pause or ceasefire, as the United States calls it. At the same time, we don't know if the international community is going to come together to support it and ensure that the ceasefire or pause actually goes ahead. And then at the same time, we also still have Russian forces on the ground. We have Syrian forces on the ground and escaped ISIS fighters on the ground, perhaps most worryingly for US security at the moment. President Trump, though, saying, don't worry, everything is under control.
ISIS is totally under control, and we're continuing to capture more. We have a tremendous situation worked out in so many different ways, and it's an honor to have been involved in it.
President Trump there. Meanwhile, what we've also seen is pushback back at home in the United States with top House Speaker, the top Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, saying that this is a sham deal. She said this flip-flopping on sanctions from the United States, from President Trump, essentially undermines America's foreign policy. She's criticized this deal, which basically saw President Trump using sanctions as a tool of leverage, hitting Turkey's economy earlier in the week, and then reversing course and deciding to remove them in order to have a win when it comes to Turkey's incursion into Syria. So clearly a lot more to unfold domestically, politically for President Trump. And of course, big questions still remain about whether or not this deal is going to be effective at all, Matt. Back to you.